Hey, it's the right Rican, and today I'm going to talk about this whole thing with the abortion issue that's going on, because the Supreme Court's taking up the abortion case, the Mississippi law, and people are freaking out on both sides. Um, uh, more so people freaking out on the left, and this is personal for me. I think it's personal for all of us, but in particular, this is personal for me, and I'll show you why. Let me just explain to you how my abortion positions evolved. It's evolved in that I used to believe that a woman should have up to 6 months to decide if she wants to have the baby. And then I had my first child. Okay. My first child was born at 24 weeks or 6 months. And this is what he looked like. Okay, so when I say it's personal, for me, I I mean it. This was my son at birth. Okay, now he's 14 years old. Okay, um, so what this, I obviously I'm Puerto Rican, and Sotomayor is Puerto Rican, and what she said, comparing an unborn baby to a brain dead person reacting to stimuli is disgusting. Okay, my son fought to live. They asked us to pull the plug if we wanted to pull the plug, and we said as long as he's fighting for his life, we will fight for his life. And never once did he code. So, so with that being said, it's like I said, that's why it's personal to me. That's why um, this lady talking about that and people freaking out over this. I go, look, I get it. It's a sensitive topic. But the Democrats and the left have totally changed on this subject. It used to be safe, legal, and rare. That used to be their model. Because it's like, you know what? It's not a decision that people take lightly, or at least they shouldn't. But that's not the case anymore. You have actresses saying they wish they had an abortion. You have people saying, how their abortion was good, and that's totally different when it was like, okay, yes, abortions happen, but that's a woman's choice, and now it's morphed into this. It's like a sacrament that they make it out to be, and that's what disgusts me. So like I said, up to until the point that my son was born, I used to believe that it was up to 6 months. So this Mississippi law, I don't think is extreme. I think there are 15 weeks. All right. um it's 15 weeks. There's, that's a little over 3 months. We're one of only three countries that allow late term abortions. China and North Korea being the other. So um, I would say that we're in some really bad company there if we're uh, in line with China and North Korea when it comes to abortion laws. Um, that's pretty extreme, and like I said, that's far cry from the old Democrat model of safe, legal, and rare. And even with our in European countries, I'm going to show you this fact check here from PolitiFact. that says 39 out of 42 countries in Europe have more restrictive abortion laws than Mississippi. And it says here half true. So here it goes. About 13 European nations have limits that are clearly shorter than 15 weeks. At least 15 countries have exceptions for the economic and social conditions, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, yeah, when they're saying half true and it's something that they support, it's probably more likely true. That's the way I look at it when I look at PolitiFact and stuff like that. So we're looking at in our country, we're the only, like I said, in line with three countries. We're one of three countries. So 15 weeks is not, it's a little bit over 3 months. I think that's too much. I personally, like I said, my view has evolved. It went from 6 months to 3 months, which is 12 weeks. I think that 12 weeks should be more than enough time. And of course, you want to put exceptions because, if a mother's life is in danger, not her mental health, her life, because that's how they try to circumvent the law, and they'll throw it in there and go, mental health. No, that's what adoption's for. You don't want to have the baby, fine, give it up for adoption. It's about time we update our adoption laws, because it is super hard to adopt babies in this country. That's why even celebrities, that's why they go overseas, because it's much easier for them to get, to go to an African country, to go to Southeast Asia, and get these babies, even to go into like Russia and over there in Eastern Europe. It's much easier for them to adopt babies from there than it is to adopt babies from this country. It's like, I have a friend of mine, I think I've talked about this before. Her and her husband make good money. Talking about people who make, I know her husband makes six-figure salary. Hers is, just varies. But you're talking about, they went to adopt and they said they were too old. And I'm like, so you just, uh, basically, you just screwed up a kid's life. They just were handed a lottery ticket to have a good shot at a good life, and you screwed it up for them because the parents are too old. It's ridiculous. But that's why, if we're going to talk about abortion, let's talk about also, like I said, like the adoption laws. These all need to be changed. So, these people that are freaking out about Roe being overturned. Look, listen, if it's overturned, there are going to be states where it's illegal. And I think that's extreme. I do think I think, the extreme of like a New York law where you could have an abortion up to birth, I think is extreme. And like I said, I think the Texas law that it's like 8 weeks, I think that's too, I think those are the extreme, and 8 weeks and up to, total ban on abortion altogether. I think they're too extremes. People are going to kill me on both sides for this, because they're going to say I'm wishy-washy. But I'm like, look, listen, what I believe for my life is in my life. I want to protect babies, but I also want to protect women. And I go, 12 weeks should be enough. Mississippi's law is 15 weeks. I think that's great. I shouldn't think. I don't think it's great, but I think it's a compromise to go. We're not going up to 6 months. That's not going to happen. Mississippi is being nice. Look, compare Mississippi's law is almost double of what Texas law is. You're talking about 8 weeks to 15 weeks, almost double the weeks. So, I understand it's a sensitive topic, and people don't want to put their 2 cents in. But look, listen, like, they're like, oh, you're a man, you shouldn't have an opinion. Screw you guys. I'm a human being, and you know what? It takes two to make that baby. So um, to say that it's only a woman's choice, you know, part of our DNA goes into creating that baby. So to say that we shouldn't have a say, well, guess what? Then um, when you're having sex with someone, you're entering into you're entering into an intimate union, and if out of that union a baby comes out of it and you don't want it as the woman, what if the man wants it? Fine, that's your body, but that's also another human life. If you don't want it, give it up for adoption. If the baby's daddy wants the baby, then give the baby to the you know um it goes both ways, because look, listen, when a woman wants the baby and the man doesn't, we're still you know we're still in line for 18 years of or more of paying for a baby that we didn't want. So what's the why is it okay for a man to pay for 18 years plus of child support for a baby he didn't want, where, let's say, for example, um then that means you have to go through 9 months, or let's say 9 months of you not wanting the baby, but you give it, let's say you make a deal with the dad. Hey, the baby's yours. I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm not giving you child support. You know what? Any man who's worth of salt would go, yes, I'll take that deal. I don't want your help. If you don't want the baby, that's fine. I'll raise my baby. But so if you think that stinks if you think that stinks, that you forced to keep a baby, then what's it any different than forcing a man to pay child support for 18 years? For if you want to compare issues. um but at the end of the day, what I this lady, what she spoke about with comparing it to Sotomayor, and her comparing it to a a brain dead person. Look, I just wish she wouldn't be stuck. She wouldn't be such a left wing ideologue. If I'm someone that leans right and I could compromise, and people aren't going to like that. Like I said, I'm going to turn people off by saying that 12 months. You hear me? 12 weeks is a compromise. I wouldn't want it at all. I don't think it should be a form of birth control, which some people do use it as. Um, and that's what goes on in this society. We don't value life. We don't value life like we used to. You have people, I mean, look how we treat each other on, let's say, social media, because we don't see each other face to face. Imagine saying imagine some of the things you people type on social media. If you said that to somebody's face, what's going to happen? It'll be ugly. And so you shouldn't. But this is what it boils down to. You cannot, you know, a life. It's a human life, whether you want to admit it or not. When you have sex, you put yourself in that situation. You could get lucky, and I mean, when you having intimate relations with another person, you are putting yourself at risk. Whether you're at risk of um, getting pregnant, STD, um, all of that stuff, you're putting yourself at risk. So you know what you're getting yourself into. They'll say, well, if you don't want to get pregnant, there's plenty of contraceptions that you could use to not get pregnant. Okay. Um, but like I said, you could make exceptions in it. They'll be like, oh, well, what if she gets raped? You can make the law and put a rape exception. You could put an incest exception. There's plenty. You could put mother's life in the law. There's nothing stopping, because these are the ones, these are the ways they always go, well, what if this, what if, those are things that you could put into the law, clearly put it into the law. You could put, mother's life is in danger. You could put, case of rape, in case of incest. There's always exceptions to the laws that you could put in when you're writing. And if other stuff comes up, you could always put it in the legislature. But what happens with the Supreme Court is they decided a case, what's Roe, from the 70s, so 50 years ago, when they complain about the way the court is now and how, oh, it's ideologically right. Well, guess what? 50 years ago, it was ideologically left. And you could see it with this, with Sotomayor's comments. I mean, you see some of her comments, you could clearly see her, here it goes. You could clearly see her left-wing bias. It's just, where was that quote? I just want to read that quote where she says, will this institution survive the stench that this creates in the public perception that the Constitution and its reading are just political acts? Ma'am, your whole statement there is a political act, because laws change. If in the 50 years since Roe, if you guys couldn't pass a law putting Roe into, putting abortion into law, and these people and these states are trying to pass laws against it, what does that tell you? There's, you do have like states like New York, I think Virginia, I don't know what other states passed this ridiculous up to birth abortion bills, which are disgusting. That's truly, truly disgusting. But anyways, what this lady said and what they talk about is, there's no, like I said, I mean, I'll get killed on both sides for, like, they're gonna, on the left, they'll kill me for this talking point, because they'll say, oh, look at him, a man talking about, limits on abortion. And then the right will be like, oh, no, you're saying that it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. Okay. I'm not saying abortion is okay. I'm saying that, people make stupid mistakes. People have sex with people that they shouldn't have, and all this and all that stuff. There's, like I said, there's plenty of ways to prevent abortion. I mean, prevent pregnancy, but sometimes that's just the last. Condom breaks, happens. Now they'll say, oh, well, you shouldn't put yourself in that situation. Look, listen, that's why we have these, you can make the laws. If you don't like the laws, change the laws. But you don't change it by judicial activism. Like, that's what happened with Roe versus Wade. That was judicial activism. Because there were states that it was already legal in. They didn't need this, but they knew they couldn't pass it in every state. So they went to court. Same thing like with gay marriage. Even though already, gay marriage is already accepted. But even California tried to pass a gay marriage law, and it didn't pass in California. So they took it to the courts. That's another thing that I go, that's a law that, instead of it being the Supreme Court that legislated it across the land, it's something that Congress should take up. Because it's saying 50 years from now, do you want this same issue to happen again? But like, well, they'll do it with the gay right issue. I'm just, just putting that into the heads of these people who go, because the Supreme Court passed the law, slavery was legal to the Supreme Court. The slaves had to be returned to their masters. Supreme Court Supreme Court ruled that. So that's why we have the legislature for. You want to do these things, pass a federal law. But if you can't, then leave it to the states. That's why, we did get constitutional amendments after the Civil War. We did get the civil rights movements, the civil rights acts of the 1960s. And then we the irony of getting the civil rights of the 60s and then Roe versus Wade in the 70s as a court case. But like I said, this it's a sensitive topic, and I know I probably didn't do it justice right now, but like I said, I know it's personal for everybody. If you don't know someone who had an abortion, or if you know someone who's had a premature baby, so it's a personal topic for you. So I'm gonna end it there. I could always keep going, but I'm the Right Rican. Follow me here on YouTube and Rumble, and interact with me in social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, Gab, Getter, Parler, all of them. All right. You can interact with me there, and have a good one.